Hi, I'm Kim, and I help people make their money systems easier to manage. Most people start off tracking their money with good intentions, but over time, it just starts to feel harder than it should. Now, this isn't because they're doing anything wrong, it's because the system that they're using isn't working for them. So, in this video, I'm going to show you a simpler way to structure your system so that it's easier to manage. Hi. When something feels messy, the natural response is to avoid it. We stop checking it, we delay it, we leave it for later. And slowly it becomes something we only deal with when we have to, not something we feel in control of. But the issue isn't avoidance, it's what the system is asking us to deal with in the first place. This isn't a discipline problem, it's a system problem. Most people are trying to stay organized using systems that don't match how they actually think or work. So even when you try harder, it still feels difficult. When the structure is clearer, everything becomes easier without needing more effort. That's what we're going to change. We need a system that makes it easier to stick to, one that is easy to understand, quick to update, and simple to repeat. Because if something takes too much effort to maintain, it slowly gets ignored. The goal isn't complexity, it's consistency. A system only works if it fits into real life. A good system should do three things: see what's happening, understand why it's happening, and make it easy to adjust when things change. When those three things are clear, decisions become much simpler. You're not guessing anymore. You're just responding to what's in front of you. So let's make this practical. I'm going to show you a simple example using HomeBank. We'll focus on a few small changes. We'll clean up our categories, we'll rename our accounts, we'll update scheduled payments, and we'll group our accounts. These are small adjustments, but together they make the system much easier to use. So let's get into it. So the first thing that we're going to do to help us make this simpler is to clean up our categories. Now, under Manage at the top, you then drop down to Categories. And here's all of the categories that are currently in the system for these fictional characters at the moment. And you can see there's quite a lot of them, and there's quite a few that aren't relevant. So what you might find are things like under Hobbies and Leisure, you might have a whole raft of different ones, and half of them you don't ever use. So you can just start to delete those. For instance, Toys and Games, we delete that one, and maybe tapes and CDs, and maybe it's all that you want is just the main Hobbies and Leisure that's entertaining or sporting. And so you just remove the ones that you don't want and you can replace it with ones that you do. Now, just be careful when you are removing categories. If you've got a transaction already in that category, then you might want to go over into that transaction and say, for instance, it's this one, eating out. And you can, when you unlock, make sure you unlock at the bottom. You can sort on category, and then you can choose all the ones that you don't want, for instance, like car parking, and you can go down to the bottom and do multiple edit, and you can recategorize where you want that to go. So just be careful that you're not going to change your categories with transactions attached to them. But updating your categories and keeping those clean makes it much easier every month when you need to go looking for categories. So the second thing that we can do is we can rename our accounts. And by renaming our accounts, we make them meaningful and we make them easier to find when we do the import every month. So you'd see with these characters here, we've got them called credit card, personal loan. So that's a good start. Now, what I also do is I go in and I put the number, the suffix of the bank account at the end of that name. Because if you've got multiple savings accounts, sometimes you don't know which is which. So make sure that the account name here matches what's in your bank. And quite often in your bank, you can rename your accounts as well. So you want to name them something meaningful so you know what the purpose of that account is. So to do your accounts, you go up to Manage, go into Accounts, and then you can just click on Account, and you can just very easily rename it here. So let's say, for instance, that this is an '06 account. So I've just put '06 there so that I know that when I go to do the import, I'm going to import to the correct account with the correct suffix. And then you just close. And then it will change it up there in your main screen. So I recommend that you do that to save you time when you do your import every month, and also to keep you on track so that you can actually see where your money is going for your goals. So my third tip to make things easier is to update your scheduled payments. Just make sure that those scheduled payments are actually correct. Some of them will change from time to time, and it's a real pain when you import everything. Find that you've got to double up on something like the dentist here, and then you have to go in and change it every time, or you don't know where your numbers don't match, and it's because the scheduled payments changed and you haven't kind of realized. So just go through your scheduled payments, check your dates, and then update them. And it's very simple. You just double click on the scheduled payment and double click in it again, and then you can update that. And I think that one's gone to $35. So that means that the next time that I post it, it's going to be very easy because it's going to match the bank, and it's going to make it a lot faster. So that's the third thing, just to help you reduce friction, is to make sure that all your scheduled payments are all up to date. And my last tip for today is about grouping. Now, we talked about this in a previous video, so I'll put that into the link as well. But I find it really good if I group my accounts together into the high sort of level goals, or the ultimate sort of category. So you'll see for credit card and personal loan, for Abby and Sam, our fictitious characters, it's sitting under debts, and I've got everyday account under everyday money, and then the long-term savings, which is their KiwiSaver or their retirement savings, under long-term savings, and then everything under short-term savings. And when you're looking at the bigger picture each month, then if you've got them under the bigger groups, then you can quickly see what your totals are, because it gives you the total down the bottom for each of those groups. And then when you come over here, you can change the way that you view your account balance. And so that makes it a lot nicer as well. If you can just see, look, my debts are getting really small, my everyday money is in there. Actually, they haven't got any debts left, but it would be good, you'd be able to see how much that is. My short-term savings is doing pretty well, and my long-term savings is getting bigger. So when you want to do a group, you go up to accounts and you click into your account there, and then you can change the group in this row here, and you can see I've got all the groups there. But if you want to create a new group, then you just type in there. If you want to change that group, then you can just type over the top. So that's how you do groups. It does make it a lot easier to see the bigger picture, and it helps you when you're looking at your total amounts in each of the accounts, the grouped accounts as well. It's important to remember the tool isn't the point. HomeBank is just an example. What matters is the simplicity behind it. If your system is clear, you can use almost anything. But if it's complicated, no tool will fix that. The goal is always the same: make it easier to understand and easier to maintain. So once your system is set up properly, the next step is consistency. Not doing everything perfectly, just keeping things simple and maintained over time. And that's what actually makes the difference long term. If you want to continue, the next step is learning how to stay consistent each month. You can find that out at www.insidemymoney.co.nz.